Good afternoon in New York, and hello, everybody from around the world. Welcome to this session of the Explorers. Today, we're going to have a very special event, I think, because we're going to have some presentations about the IFPH Students and Early Career Group, and I'm very happy about that. They're going to talk to us about their activities, what do they do, their expectations after graduation, that sometimes we actually don't know how to get jobs and things like that. Perhaps that could be also a topic to discuss. Many of my students ask me that, but before that, I'm going to present them. We have today with us Marta Kopiniak. I hope I'm saying that correctly. She's a
Yes,
PhD student
perfectly.
in history at the University of Wrocław, Poland, and a guide and educator at the Depot History Center in Wrocław, a museum dedicated to the post-war history of the city. Her PhD thesis explores the history of museum participation in Poland and the evolution of the idea of involving the public in the work of cultural institutions. Her academic and professional work has the joint goal, of progressing the field of public history in Poland and inviting an academic reflection into a field focused on practice. Thank you, Marta, for being here. Then we have with us Shuyang Song. It's her second or third time here with us on Explorers. Thank you for coming back. She's a PhD student in contemporary history at the Free University of Berlin, researching about the West German women's peace movement in the Cold War. Before moving to Berlin, she studied world history and German studies at Peking University in China. As a public history, she worked in publishing science education and historical political education in international context. Thank you for being here again, Shuyang. Then we have with us for the first time, welcome Grace for accepting our invitation. Grace McDowell has a master's in public history, with a certificate in museum studies from Indiana University, Indianapolis. She has been a member of the IFPH Student and Early Career Group's organizing committee since January 2022. She has worked internationally in Berlin, Germany, and across many cities in the United States, most recently at the State Council founded by the National Endowment of the Humanities, which develops and administers humanities programming for diverse public audiences. Thank you again. Welcome, Grace. And last but not least, we have Maggie Crisp. Maggie received her master's degree in public history from the University of York in England. She has created, organized, and managed the social media presence of the IFPH Student and Early Career Group since 2022 on Twitter and LinkedIn. She is currently based in Berlin. She works in the Free Universität Berlin in the Global History Department, primarily to finance her German language skills. Her training is in modern European social and cultural histories, primarily in post-war Germany. So thank you again, ladies, for being here, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Mana, for introducing us all and hosting us today. And we have a brief PowerPoint presentation. I say brief, but I think we have a little bit, all of us, a little bit prepared to talk about our experiences. But firstly, I think it would be best if perhaps we introduce not ourselves, as we just did, Mana, but our group and what it does, and why did we choose the title of our meeting today to be IFPH Students and Early Career Group, a platform for discussion and growth. And begin, well, who are we? And that is information that you can also find on the IFPH page, on the IFPH website, where we invite all interested people to look for information about us. And who we are? Well, we are a collective, and our goal is to encourage transnational engagement between students and early career professionals of public history, which is a field really, really big in North America, emerging in Europe. And so we want to develop the field as it is as well, apart from our own careers and research goals. And so apart from that, well, exchange and discussion are the basis of what we do. We have monthly meetings during which like we have invited guests, but also we do workshops sometimes, which we'll talk about later on. And basically, the core approach that we all share, I believe, is that we want to be a safe space for young academics who might not be so sure about what to do with their future, with their career. And so we are here on so many different like levels of our own careers and with so many different plans of what we are planning to do or with so many different things that we are actually doing that I believe we as a collective have a good basis of both advice, but also experience that we can share, but also connections and networking opportunities that we have used and can pull in other people who can also give excellent advice and share their experience. And so, as Jimena has already so wonderfully told you who we are. We are actually not the full squad of the organizing committee. There are two other people, Alexandra Zaremba-Panic, who is based both in the US and Serbia, who unfortunately couldn't be here with us, and Lidong, who is based in Germany and China, similarly to Xuyang. And why we included that here and why we basically included in many places that list is to show you, well, show everyone who is interested in what we do that we're not really focused on any particular area when it comes to public history practice, although a large part of our group is based in Germany, but that is just a coincidence. And so we really do welcome people from all places, not only Europe, not only North America, although we understand that time zone differences are tough to navigate, but we are really, really open to, you know, negotiating and discussing how to accommodate people from either, you know, also South America, but also Australia, Africa, East Asia. We would love to have people attending from all over the world.
And Latin America.
Yes, exactly. And so since February 2023, although like the most, not the most recent, but like the impulse for you know, much more engagement and an impulse to really get the group going started in 2022, where Grace, who is here with us, and Alexandra, who is not, have started working on the group and trying to really get it off the ground. But since February 2023, the group has organized 11 public online meetings on really, really various topics. We started with, you know, working in the field of public history, both the perspectives of potential employees, but also potential employers, and also exploring, really finding your way as a public history practitioner or researcher, finding your way into what interests you within the field or your specific subfield or public history, but also discussing these concrete skills that you might need in working in public history. And then this last semester, in the summer 2023-2024 semester, we have launched an experiment, a thematic series, exploring the question public history as activism, which was so successful and has provided so many great discussions, so many great opportunities to share our experiences and compare notes, but also really ask ourselves, like, where do we want the field of public history to go? Like, what do we think is the field's role in the world today? And now coming to those workshops and working groups that I mentioned at the beginning, our conference presence this year is well, based on two events. One that has already happened and one that is coming up. So every year, the University of Wrocław hosts the Public History Summer School. This year was its 7th edition, and I think it went wonderfully. And during that conference, myself and Maggie did a working session, a workshop, exploring the question, what is your role as a public historian? And Maggie can also chime in, but I think it went really, really well. And that the question that we posed was really thought-provoking because the answers to that question ranged from making as much money as you can for your institution to being an activist, a public historian activist. And then the upcoming event is the IFPH conference in Luxembourg, where so many people from the field are going to be. And we will have a working group on September 5th, which will explore the needs of young public history professionals entering the job market, which is basically the core interest of our group. So what do we need as young public historians to effectively navigate the job market? How do we market our skills? How do we find our niche in the field and advance our careers? And this is a picture of myself and Maggie during our workshop at the summer school. It was a wonderful group of people, and I think it really, really did go wonderfully. And also Maggie manages our contact information, social media. So if anyone is interested, you can screenshot that and contact us on any of those platforms, be it email, LinkedIn, or X, formerly Twitter. But also we have a mailing list, which you can join if you want to. You can just message us and provide your email, and then you will be listed on our Google groups. And we don't spam that much. We basically send out information about our monthly meetings, but also any upcoming events, conferences, etc., that any of our members, collaborators, people attending our meetings want to share with people, because that's just a good platform to do that. And I think that is the core, that's the main part, that's the most important information about what we do and what our group represents, which I really do think is needed in our field, to sort of networking, support, and collaboration opportunities that, our group can provide. And for the second part of our presentation meeting, the part where we talk, we thought about just giving space or giving the floor to all of us individually to basically talk about our experiences working with each other and for the group. And I think I'm the first here, but I have talked so much already that I think I'm going to go last. And I don't know, Grace, if you'd like to take the floor for now.
Sure. Yeah, I really love that Marta reflected, and she'll come back and kind of close out. When she did hers, she really reflected a lot of our ideas in a great summative way, but wanted to just call out a few things that I've noticed from working with this organization since 2022. So as Marta mentioned, Alex and I got together in 2022. Alex was first working on this, and solo. It's all a volunteer position for all of us. It's we're not receiving any support, so it's on our own time. And she was very open to any collaborators. And so I, when I started my master's program, was really interested in transnational engagement, knowing that I had lived in Germany and was possibly going to be moving back to Germany after graduation, which is actually now happening. So wanted to start developing those relationships, and yeah, so got involved with Alex, and then we just kind of tried to push forward that idea of the more the better. We can leverage more people's skills and networks, and being a volunteer position, taking some of the work and spreading it out. And we were so lucky to have Marta join us, and Shu Yang and Maggie, and then eventually Lee. So now I think you saw the diversity of where we're all working from. It's just been really amazing outside of our monthly meetings, but have this core group where we meet, and we've even started a WhatsApp chat, and have collaborated in documents and all sorts of things. It's just amazing to be able to not really have any institutional affiliations in common, or really any specific goals like with our work or research in common, but that we just have come together to add our ideas and volunteer our time for this group. So I think it's just really showing the power of this global public history community wanting to work together. And we're always, as Marta said, excited for more people bringing more skills. And I think some of us might, now that we've got it in a good spot, want to, as our positions and careers evolve, maybe want to take a break. So we've already had some people approach us after the public history summer school that were interested in joining. And after the conference, we're going to send out a brief. After the IFPH conference, we're going to send out a brief survey where people can also provide their contact information if they, and specific things they'd like to work on if they'd like to join the organizing committee. So that's just something I'm really proud of and grateful for the relationships formed with all of you. Also, we, as Marta mentioned, really got rolling in 2023 with these monthly meetings. And I know, Jimena, you've alluded to this, it is hard to get, people have such strains on their time and so many commitments, and we're trying to work across a global community with different time differences. And so it's sometimes hard to get the mass of attendees that we want every month, but I think we've just really stuck with holding these and making it known that it is going to be a consistent thing, excluding the summers. We usually take a little summer pause, but that we've created the space. We have had regular attendees, we've had new people join, and even if people just come once or come multiple times, they've had something to add and something to get out of it, I hope. And that we've created resources from these meetings that'll exist long past the kind of ephemeral meetings, and we've developed relationships with guest speakers that I think we could tap back into in the future, working across many countries. So I'm just really proud of us for holding these meetings. And then this kind of dovetails the last thing, which is these meetings have become a space to try new ideas. So as Marta mentioned, we initially tried a format where we would spend the first half of the meeting, us kind of going over administrative things, resources we had developed, conferences that we were going to be attending or that we were helping promote, calls for papers on. And then the second half would be a guest speaker coming in, giving a talk with a small space for Q&A at the end. But starting this past spring, we really wanted to maybe try this idea of, I think a lot of us in the organizing committee, we had met at the end of last year to reflect, and we also were just reflecting a feeling we all had of like, what is the larger purpose of our work, and with a lot of global things happening in the world, feeling like what can we do as public historians to try to make the world a more equitable place or a better place. And is that a really lofty goal? Is that possible? And what does that look like coming from different places? And so we put together this idea of public history as activism, with a question mark to leave it open for interpretation. And instead of bringing in experts and talking to people, it became an open conversation, and we would share articles ahead of each of the meetings to have everyone read. So we were grounded in a specific thing, whether it was shared authority or decolonizing museums, specific topics, but then it would open up to discussion. And we created a separate resource document just around this theme from the semester. And then the last meeting, we did actually pull in a public speaker who I am connected with through my work in the US, who's doing some work exploring the toxic heritage and environmental racism in our city. So trying to reflect what a lot of it was discussed, and then having a real conversation with him. So I just thought this was such a cool, application of the whole semester was just a space to try new ideas, and we were really open to doing that. So I know Marta and Xiang were approached by some people, or Marta and Maggie were approached by some people after the public history summer school with some ideas of, could we be a place to workshop articles or do some collaborative writing or article consultations. So we're really open to this, and we want this to continue to be a space where we can evolve to the needs of our community and try new things. So I'm really proud of it being able to start to do that.
Should we wait until all the presentations, or should I ask questions before each one of you, or at the end?
I think can wait
Okay.
until the end, and then we will have a big conversation.
Okay.
Hi, so I'm going to talk about my experiences in 3 good reasons to join the IFPH Student and Early Career Group. First, I think this is a group where you can really get representation from all continents, diverse communities through participation. I got to know this group at IFPH Conference 2022 in Berlin, together with Maggie and a couple of other people attending the conference. At that time, I was a bit surprised that there was not a big representation of Asian people at the conference, and I met Emmy, who comes from Japan but based in England. And through Emmy, we organize then more events about China and Japan, also in collaboration with Jimena, with explorers. And we got more people into our group from different regions of the world. Recently, we got participants from all continents, and we are so happy to see that our community is growing. And I'm really pleased to see that people bringing their networks and experiences into our group and writing to us, even they can't attend each meeting due to time reasons. They are happy to see us on social media. They're happy to see we are sharing our resources, experiences, and networks. The second reason to join is that it is really supportive international community. We not only meet monthly for organizing our monthly meetings, thematic meetings, or meetings with a speaker, but also support each other in real life after these meetings. And we give advices about our career development. When we happen to be in the same city, then we would love to meet up also, both for professional reasons and for just for connecting. Not very professional, but it's fun. The third reason to join is that it really boosts your career development. We have different kinds of work, like social media. Maggie is doing a great job there. And we also have space for people to develop their ideas, such as the collaborative resource document. I had that idea, and our colleagues are really supportive in that. And I can also write this in my CV for future jobs in collaborative community management and networking. This really helps me to find out what I'm good at in my job, and it helps me for my future career development. That's me, and I'll give the microphone to Maggie.
Hi, yeah. As I was reflecting on the main experiences or something, I realized how many benefits there are, or how many facets there are to being in this group. I think it's, as Grace mentioned, it's really wonderful to see it grow. These organizations can rely really heavily on a few hardworking people, and I think we're really lucky to share the load by 5 or 6. I think that's really wonderful. I think, I look back on the beginning with Alex and Grace, and I feel bad for them. And so I think I feel really lucky for that. And we all take our role and we use what skills we have. And just like a small correction from earlier from Marta, I cannot take credit for the email list. That is not what I do. I did the social media, but I cannot take credit for that. That's my wonderful colleagues. But I think with that in mind, I think it's really been a welcoming group. And each time there's a Zoom call, one of our monthly Zoom calls, all are welcome, and we're so excited to see familiar faces, but also new faces. And I think it's really wonderful when we see familiar faces, they feel welcome, and I think they are happy to join. And I think I'm really that's been a really good part of just us being consistent. I think that's what's really needed also with social media presence. People see the name, and I think that's done by volunteer work, as the others mentioned. But I think what has now been the product of those hours has been an established social media presence, not at the moment really, but also just people expecting a monthly meeting is really, I think, a good foundation for the community, but also the emails and things like this. And likewise, I think we try and establish a system where anyone could contribute. So someone who has not even attended a meeting yet could suggest a theme, and if we thought it was appropriate or interesting, we could roll with that. And I think that we are heading up the team, but we are also attending the meetings and enjoying them and learning from them. And we are of a similar age cohort, I think, to the people attending. And we are also student and early career, so we still have lots to learn. I think that it's really important that we're not coming from a position of hierarchy in this regard. I think that that's really nice that we can learn from the people, and they can learn from us. And I think that overall it's been really fruitful. The last year has felt really productive. 2022 was good, but 2023 felt better, and I think 2024 was even better. So with this trajectory, I don't know how next year will be, but and I think that's really encouraging. Also, with one of our team members stepping down due to a important family thing, that I think it's so nice to have the space for new people to come in and just keep growing. And I think that's a real testament to the personalities of the team as well. This is a productive group that's it's cooperative by anyone and for everyone, not just personal growth so someone can write it on their CV. I think it's also for the benefit of the attendees. And that's been my personal takeaway. And I think that is what is different to this is a professional working group, professional working collaborative team. But I think the fact that we're not doing it professionally as our main career also gives us this different angle. We get no financial reward for this. We just really enjoy it and really see purpose in it. And I think whilst it would be nice to have some financial support, that the fact that we don't is also we really want to do it and we really enjoy it, and we would welcome anyone new. There's always space. We had 5 team members and then we just took on a 6th, and that's been possible. The load is lightened, not ruined. So that is my takeaway from our team.
Okay, so I will go back to my slide, because as I think we have agreed, I have managed to somehow put in 3 words that I think are a good summary of all of our experiences. And those are the 3 C's: community, collaboration, and confidence, which, community and collaboration have already come up with all of everything that you have said before. But I think we can view community, as I wrote it down here, in so many different levels, because we have created a community between ourselves within the organizing group, and I think we have got to know each other pretty well, I would say, and I really do enjoy working with you and collaborating with you. And the community we have created within our little group is so wonderful and so supportive. But then, going wider, like the community of the people who join us for our monthly meetings, either every time or just sometimes, but also the community of people who have come and given talks as experts. Those are all people also in our community. But then, even wider, we as a community of the IFPH or the global public history as a whole, I think we have visibility and recognition of what we do, and people know who we are as a group, maybe even if not the particular members of the organizing committee, but people know us as a group and know what we do. And I think that is so wonderful because that allows for even wider collaboration, once again, on so many different levels, not only between us as the organizing committee, which you have all so wonderfully explained and talked about how great it has been that based in those 4 different countries, sometimes in different time zones, and with so many different things that we, like each of us does, or each of us do, the collaboration has been such a such an important element of my own experience here, probably because of the fact that public history as a field isn't that big in Poland. And so any of the goals that I have when it comes to like professional development or networking, I can't really frame it with as public history. And I really do think that my place is within that field, that I am a public historian. And so collaboration within that field and broadening it and making it more visible in Poland as well has been so wonderful. And the fact that I have access to people who also want to do that is just so amazing. And then last but not least, the confidence that not only me, but I think all of us had gained in something that is not usually the topic, or those are not the skills that we get out of university. Like that's not confidence, in presenting our own research. That's something else entirely, but that's confidence in organizing effort, in administrative efforts, in collaboration, in reaching out to people and administering or taking care of the community and collaborative practice that needs to be consistent and needs to be thoughtful. So that confidence in that other part, such a necessary part of your professional work, whether you work in academia or anywhere else, that is so wonderful. And that experience has helped me so much already in my professional work. So as you can see and hear, our experiences have been overwhelmingly positive. And so I, as well as all the rest of our organizing committee members, would invite you to join us either for a monthly meeting next semester or as a member of our organizing committee. I think we have demonstrated it is a wonderful group to work with. And with that, I think we can close that part, and yeah, we can just chat and answer any questions there are. Thank you. And I think I'll stop sharing the screen. Yes.
Okay, thank you, Grace, Marta, Shuyang, and Maggie. I actually have some notes and questions that I want to ask you, but that will also we can build from there. So the group started really in 2022.
Yes, Alex could answer this the best, but there was some, I believe in the past a version of this existed, but she really resurrected it starting in 2021, 2022. End of 21, beginning of 22.
Okay. And how many members do you have currently?
We have 85 members of our mailing list who've remained opt-in. And we get on average about 10 to 12 members joining for the monthly meetings.
Wow. That's a lot. I really like something that you mentioned at the beginning. I don't remember who was it. I think it was Marta, that you conceive this group like a safe space for young audiences, for sometimes people who don't know really what to do or where to go. And I think that's very good, because sometimes you have like ideas and want to do something and you feel like the only one. And when you find these groups that could encourage you to do things. I'm thinking, for example, about my students and people in Latin America, when I get the question like, what is public history? So I tell them, and they were like, oh, I do that, but they really don't know. So these kinds of efforts and these kinds of groups, I think that really, really important, and ties in with what was Grace was mentioning about attendance. I started worrying about that long time ago, Grace, because sometimes you get a lot of people, sometimes you don't. You just have to keep doing it. And I also talked that with the steering committee, with Joanna, with Tanya, with all my colleagues. And I decided, okay, what should I do? I'm just gonna keep doing it. Just keep doing it all the time. And currently, Explorers is going to be next year. It's gonna be 5 years of the Explorers, and we have done more than 60 events. And just keep doing it. So just keep doing it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Just do it, do it, do it. And I was also very impressed with the 11 events you mentioned, with the 11 meetings you have done. Where are they housed? Is there a place that you can go and see them?
So we don't have recordings of our meetings because we want it to be that safe space where
Okay.
it's a
Oh,
conversation.
okay.
And when we had guest speakers being the focus, we hadn't gotten a process to ask consent for them to record. But we do have like record of all the speakers, their emails,
Nice.
those that opted in, that they could be reached out to, and then some supporting literature that maybe they had or they shared, as well as we continue to add to, and I'll let Xiying take over this because we have a lot of resources that exist all the time, that, after each meeting we'll add resources that come out of it. Perhaps the speaker mentioned something, or we read an article, or, Alex, when she was working on getting an article published, she shared a lot of resources as well as access to her article. So we've started to compile those, or we've compiled those, and then we also will usually send a recap after each meeting to the full mailing list with the slides. And so we do have slides archived. We have between the 6 of us, a pretty comprehensive Google Drive that we try to keep organized with. We did a survey at the beginning to understand the needs. We put our slide decks from each of the meetings in an archival folder. All the resources we mentioned, which I'll let Xiying talk more about.
So to access those resources, you have to be a member. You have to be part of the mailing list.
Yes. If you want to be part of the mailing list, you're very welcome to do it.
Yes. Put me
Okay.
down. Put me down. Yes. No, because I mean, I'm sure those materials are for interest of many people, but perhaps they don't know where to find them. So I can help you guys like promote that, like join this to get access to. I mean, that could be something very interesting. And I have a question for Grace. Grace, in this meeting that we're having right now, you already have a job, right?
Correct.
You're already in the workforce. So how easy was for you to find that job, and which skills did you find useful for getting that job?
My job is something I had been working. So my university has a great internship. They keep classes pretty small because they have a great internship program where they have their relationships established with local organizations, and they consistently place interns in those positions year after year. So once you're in the program, you are guaranteed an internship, a paid internship through the program. So I was working for one of those organizations through my grad school, and then they've let me continue to stay on, which has been amazing. I think it benefited me because I actually worked 10 years in marketing, market research, across nonprofits and for-profits prior to going back to grad school. So I had some of the maybe like intangible communication skills, working in a workplace, so they could immediately plug me into a full-time capacity. I wasn't maybe a typical intern, some of those things, but I also think something that's made me desirable for them is grant writing. That's been a huge responsibility that I've taken on. So I think, and that's something that actually we've had discussions with, like, how do you learn to apply for funding? Is that something that we're being taught in university? Because that will continue to be, as funding for institutions is cut, like it continue to be a skill that might be valuable for public historians to have. But I still think I'm moving in the process of moving to Berlin. We just got our visa, and my organization is still like willing to work with me on a freelancer basis. But I think I'm also interested in trying to work in a public history capacity in another country. And so that's why I wanted to become involved with this group and learn about what skills I needed to work in another country or internationally in public history. So I still think there's a lot to like be learned and offered from this group.
Yes, I think you touch a very important point there about the writing, because I don't know, I'm sure you have had girls in your classes or perhaps with some professors. There's still a tension between like history and public history. Like sometimes public history is considered like a younger sister of history, that we are not too serious, we're not too academic, etc., etc. I think we don't want to be that. We try to reach more audiences. I mean, all the things you know about. And learning to write for wider audiences, it's very different than to write your traditional article that's going to be in a journal that only you and your mother are going to read. That's I mean, and that's a skill I think we need to learn if we want to reach out. And also I think about my students, for example, that I teach students that are non-historians and they are not interested in history. So how do I reach them? I have to use public history strategies or tricks, if you want, to engage them, or they won't. And I think that's something we need to learn as public historians. Also, if we work in a museum, in an archive, I mean, wherever, and that's really important. And they don't really teach us that, or at least I wasn't trained like that. In my university, they didn't train me for that. I learned it afterwards. And that brings me to another question. How long, I mean, to be in your group, you have to be a student or an early career professional? How long is an early career professional? I mean,
you don't need to be an early career
okay.
professional or to be on the mailing list. Tanya is also on our mailing list to
Okay.
know what we are doing. So you are also very welcome. And we would like to use self-definition for early career because it can be really, really different in different regions. And there are people who worked in other areas before and then go into public history, doing a master or PhD. So it's just self-definition, but senior people are also welcome.
Okay, good, because I was thinking that, so after 5 years of being a public historian, you get kicked out of the group? No, right? Oh, okay.
No, we're not
Okay.
doing that kind of gatekeeping.
Yeah, because that's fair. If you change careers or do something, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and also if I can just comment on that, because
Yes.
I think not only being early career is self-defined. I think a lot of people, even like 10 years into their public history career might feel as if they are still early career professionals, especially with like the academic job market the way it is right now. But also I would like to think that the more vast, not only on the mailing list, but also like in the organizing committee, and the more varied experience that we all have, the more valuable the group is, because we can all, share our experiences. If somebody changed careers, if somebody, went into university at an older age, everything is valid. And I think all experiences are so important.
Yeah, I was thinking precisely of that. I graduated only 4 years ago, but I'm not by any means a young professional. So that, yeah, and I'm sure there are many people like that. So okay, good, good to know that. Another thing that I liked very much about the group is what Maggie mentioned about like-minded people, because I'm talking what I see here in the States. And again, I mentioned like the traditional division, if you are like a typical historian and not a typical historian. Having more young people interested in history being more like a political tool, let's say, to engage audiences in different debates, I think it's more important than to learn battles and names and heroes. I'm going to give you an example. I teach my students about the Stonewall riots that happened about the queer community in New York in the 60s. And one student asked me, why is that history? What does that have to do with history? Which I thought it was a very stupid question, but it wasn't. It was very hard for me to answer. And actually, it was a very good question because I understand where she was coming from. She was coming from chemistry or something like that. So, I mean, why is that history? So I think public historians there have to be like very active and take out all their skills they know to precisely explain young people why history is not the past, like the past in 1492 when Columbus arrived to the Americas, but things that happened a few years ago, and that you need to be really committed. And that's also, I want to know your opinion about this. You said you talked about public history and activism, but and you left it open. Doing the explorers thing right now, I started this year a series about the history of the right in Latin America, a very specific series because, as you might know or not, but maybe the comeback of the right in Latin America is becoming very scary and it's very serious. So a little bit of history about that. And then I realized I cannot be neutral. And explorers cannot be neutral. And objectivity and no, I know I can't take we need to be really politically active, committed with a position. Explorers is not supposed to take positions, but in doing that series, I cannot be neutral at all. So I want to know your opinions on that in the activism part. Maggie.
Yeah, what came to mind is how international our group is. And so when we meet for one short hour, there's a bit of small talk and then we get right into the topic and then the speaker comes. So we never dive into people's personal histories and personal feelings about things. But I think what's a real testament to our group is that, you know, people for the time that we are together, we are like united by what we're all interested in instead of the divisions. And I think that's really nice. And that was really evident in our last few meetings of the semester, where, you know, the world is really tense and people could have brought up political topics at the moment and they would have been welcome to, and maybe they would have found some allyship there. But instead we discussed things and, you know, the modern themes were brought into historical discussions, but I also think that was really nice. And, you know, as Marta said, it was, you know, a safe space, but also I think people did know they could have brought something up, but then people were all, you know, so what also made me think about that is one of our regular attendees, he hasn't got a formal education in public history. He's really a gamer and then looked into the game history side of things, but he attends the meeting as one of our most, like, you know, regular attenders. He's the most likely to pop up, I'd say. And so that's really nice that his contribution is completely as valid. And I think that's really wonderful. And that's also a takeaway that Marta and I had from the summer school. You know, like we were quite surprised how many people did not do a master's or something in public history and had entered it from social sciences or political sciences or something like this. And I think that perspective is so interesting because people studying public history, everyone around them is also studying it, or even just a bachelor's in history or something like this, or working for a museum. There is an obvious context in which you can have those discussions. So I think coming together where the term public history and historian seems to apply to those people, there's not much else in common, really. You know, we're from different ethnicities, continents, time zones, but, you know, trainings, things like this, completely different perspectives, but it seems to work. And I think that's really unique and really interesting. because in the workplace it can not work. You know, you can have polite disagreements with people, or in the classroom, you know, people are not afraid to put their hand up. But here, I think what's crucial about that is the age range. People are at an age where they're really willing to learn, but they also are eager to get their point across, and that's really exciting, I think.
Do you have an opinion on that also, on that same topic? Yeah.
Maybe I can
Sure.
talk a bit about public history and politics. We decided on this topic, public history as activism, with a question mark in the end, because it is really a controversial topic also in Germany. And in Germany, we have the special situation of political education very closely tied to the research of contemporary history. And also there are a lot of professionals working in that area, but for different organizations, like for different parties doing this. They also research on their own party history. They have their party archives or social movement archives, like women's archives, queer archives, and people working at these institutions, they already bring in some kind of political position, like they are part of the queer movement. So they are collecting documents and videos and testimonies of people from the queer community. And I recently heard a person from the gay museum in Berlin says that there are often queer-phobic people throwing stones on their museum. And this is a really serious political problem when you work for those institutions with a special political position. And we also get similar feedback from our meetings with the topic public history as activism, with people sharing their experiences from different institutions and continents. I remember a person from Brazil sharing with us examples of restitution in Brazil. And this is really special because we didn't have any attendee from Brazil and we know so little about that. And it was great that he could bring his perspectives in. And also I remember someone who comes from Malawi in Africa, and she worked many years for the government in heritage protection. And also she brought us to a new world of experiences with which we had little contact before. And this is amazing, the amazing thing in our community where these contacts happen.
Yes, yes, I think that's amazing, and I think public history gives you also like the tools to listen, and no matter if you don't agree, you understand where people are coming from. And I think that's also very important. And it's also very important what you two mentioned, that people, I mean, you don't have to be a historian to practice public history. You can have any career. Public history is like an umbrella term, just to a series of practices that you do. But what called my attention is that you, I don't remember who of you mentioned the topics that you have touched upon. Activism, one of them, decolonization, which is also so controversial, and share authority. I have a lot of issues with share authority. So me personally, I mean, it's very problematic, and in Latin American context, it's very problematic, and I will debunk that concept. I mean, I really have issues with that. So I want to know also your opinions on how do you tackle those so controversial topics? How do you approach them? How do you propose them? How, I mean, do you get to some agreement, or I mean, how do you? I would love to be in one of those discussions, actually.
So maybe I can.
Definitely sign you up for our mailing list.
Yes, we need to get you on that list so you can attend. But
Yeah.
I think, you know, those topics that can be controversial, but at the same time are so important to discuss. Like we have approached them with basically openness, as in like we didn't set out any huge expectations. We basically either chose a text, a really short thing that could just give an introductory like overview or case study of something that happened, so that people could, get either acquainted with the topic if they didn't know about that before, or so that we had a concrete example or text that we could reference in our discussion. And I don't think we have, like during our discussion, reached any sort of like consensus on any of the topics, because people basically just discussed without like an end goal. Like there wasn't a goal like, okay, do we agree on this statement or anything like that? And I think this openness, and I think also the fact that we don't record the meetings, allows us to really, really be open, because, we all might, I don't know, change our opinions or something. We might rethink or reconsider some topics that, we are discussing on the internet with all of those wonderful people during one of our meetings. And I think that is one of the key things to get a real, but also really respectful discussion. Because despite the fact that all of those topics were really controversial and people had very different opinions depending on where they come from, what their personal experiences were, I don't think, like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we had any like heated arguments or disagreements over those topics. And not having like an end goal and being really, really a safe space, I think helps when it comes to discussing these things. And well, our consistency and our brand are that we are a safe group. So I think that helped.
Yeah,
I know,
yeah.
you
I'm sorry. Go.
oh, sorry.
Sorry,
Just specifically thinking about shared authority too, and that was something that I felt like it was a topic that like all of us had some exposure to in a formal program or public history class, because it's just kind of one of the first concepts. And I had theories and ideas, and I came at it from, I had only done oral histories, and so that was where my thoughts around shared authority had come from. And then also one of our professors had challenged us, that Michael Frisch, who's credited for coming up with this term, actually published later an article that was saying, I don't like how it's becoming this verb of sharing authority, because that implies that there was authority and it's being given by somebody, and it just further complicates the problem of elitism, and that it should be a process. And I had, I wanted to bring these things up and hear discussion more diverse than what I had gotten in my program. I didn't have an agenda to convince people that, because I knew my experiences were narrow and based in one area of work. And so I thought it was really amazing to get the transnational perspective of people, and that, throughout, people will be putting resources in the chat, or other, things, and that we collect these. So yeah, we're not trying to come out of it with an answer or we're trying to weigh in on this issue and come up with how we feel. It is just creating more discussion, giving people more perspective, and then creating some resources that we can share.
We did a community survey before we launched this event series of public history and activism. We had some options, and topics like decolonizing museums and shared authority, they were in the top topics that people from our community chose. They wanted to discuss, they wanted to listen, so we decided on these topics.
Okay, I don't know if you were aware. Sure, I mean, I'm sure you were. Last year in November, Public History Weekly in Vienna, there was Public History Weekly. There was the 10-year anniversary of Public History Weekly in Vienna, and there was a workshop of 3 or 2 days. I couldn't assist. I had to do it online, unfortunately. And the topic was public history and activism. And it was so interesting. And now there's a book that's coming out of there. It's going to be, I mean, the articles are being written, and it's going to come out next year. And I think that topic is really key. because I think the practice is going towards that side too much. Well, at least in Latin America, which I come from, and where it's my specialty, you cannot think about public history in Latin America with having some kind of activism going on. It's impossible. That's where shared authority and all those things that I was mentioning you have to discuss. There in my particular case, I have only canceled one Explorers one time because it without going into too much detail, but the guest I invited turned out to be very right-wing person with very strict very particular views about the massacre in El Salvador, and I couldn't. No, I couldn't. No objectivity, nothing. I just canceled it and it was done. What surprised me is that passed through me, but okay. I mean, I'm glad I caught it, because if that would have been aired, it would have been a disaster. But okay, I mean, we learn. What other benefits can you tell your audience that will see this video to be part of the group? Like, the safe space is a very big plus, the materials, the open discussions, but what else? What else do you think are the takeaways from your group? How would you convince someone to be part of your group?
It's really a community-led initiative. So, not only can you take a leadership role if you feel like you want to develop skills or confidence, but as several of my fellow organizers mentioned, like, we truly try to take the feedback from the community and shape these meetings and how we focus our energies around what they say they need, whether it's, we did an initial survey when Alex and I joined, and then we brought this to Public History Summer School to get further feedback. We go to these conferences and talk to people. When we decide on, even though this public history is active, it kind of came out from our group, we decided to put out a survey and make sure that you're focusing on the topics that people wanted to. And so it's really just, we try to reflect the needs of this community we're forming, and that, if you join, you have a voice, or even if you haven't joined and you can't yet, but there was something you want to get out of this and you would join if we did address it, we're open to that.
And your working group in Luxembourg is going to be a what topic specifically?
Grace and I will be coordinating this. Grace in Luxembourg, and I'll be coordinating online. We'll be talking about career development. It's really about how we find jobs, what are our cohort members doing after graduation, and what resources do early career people in public history need, and how can institutions or associations help them.
And what's going to be your outcome of that, Shuyang?
A collaborative resource document,
Okay.
as always.
No, but I think that's very useful. I think that should be like out there, because I think everybody's interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even people like me who already have jobs, we are still interested in that, because you still need to be updated and knowing what's going on to be able to do your job, or to find jobs, or to change jobs. Sometimes is the case. Is there something you would like to add?
I would say, from a practical, potentially selfish level, this is volunteer work, but it's something you can put on your CV if you need to. It did land me my most recent job. It was very impressive that I'd set up social media channels by myself, which was true. But I think a lot of companies were looking for such a skill, and I could really evidence that, they could find my work very quickly just with a quick Google. I think you could also present the other skills from the other team roles within our group. And I think becoming a team member, for example, would be a clear benefit. It looks really impressive. The word International Federation is glistening there at the start of the phrase. And I think, but even just becoming a member would really, it would look impressive to people. It would show real interest and intention with, wanting to be involved in not overtly academic public history groups, and with an international context and outside of the classroom. And I think that's it would look impressive, but it is also just beneficial and fruitful. I think I can see that with the team meetings as well, people join on, and I think it's refreshing. And a few times people have said, wow, I've discussed that many times, but yeah, you're so right. I need you to come back to that. Or I'm writing an essay at the moment and I just had to talk about something else, but it was related to history. So there is real personal benefit, and people feel free to use that. It's all your benefits, also the wider benefit, I'd say. So
Those are
And
really
I just
great
wanted to
and
maybe
important.
comment
Yes.
and jumping off of what Maggie said, because I just realized that I don't think I ever mentioned that, but jumping off of the point Maggie made about, professional development, putting things on your CV. My involvement in the organizing committee is a added bonus, or like it is part of my every 6 month evaluation at work, where I am rated on a scale, and it talks about so many different aspects. But being involved in the organizing committee, doing volunteer work, but also like the organizational skills, interpersonal skills that I gained are all part of my evaluation at work, because I do that, and my employer recognizes the fact that being involved in this group helps my professional growth and development, and that it is part of me being considered for promotion, etc. So there is also this really, really visible benefit that Mag mentioned, but I wanted to just highlight it even more, because I think people don't really consider that to be a possibility, but it is a really, really real possibility.
Then
Yes,
I
and
would like to add another benefit. If you write this on your CV, some scholarships and grants really value your work in communities and organizations, and when they see this, they could be interested, and you can get better chances getting that scholarship or program grant because you had that experiences in international organizing committees, and they see that you are really committed to a community and also to your job, and they see that you have special skills in organizing, communication, and intercultural skills.
yes, that's really true. I mean, this work that you do and that I do with explorers is volunteer work. We don't get paid, but I would never leave it, for example. I like it so very much. And I think that passion and the way you do it, it's opens many doors. Sometimes you don't even know which kind of doors can open, like Maggie was saying, like it was her skills, the skill that she learned landed the job, and that's amazing. That's amazing. It's something that has to be done, and needs to be going on. And I'm very impressed with your work. Tanya told me about your work. She's also very impressed. She talks very, very highly about you. And I was going to tell you, Marta already knows, but you could also take more advantage of the blog of the IFPH. You can write, I mean, 1,200 words, it's nothing, even less. And it's very easy to publish there, and you could use it to promote your own work, to promote the materials you work with, the meetings. I mean, you can just use it all the time. I mean, that's a good resource to have. So I encourage you to do that. Okay, ladies, we are running out of time, but I want to thank you. This was really amazing. As I said, I'm very, very impressed. Is there something you want to end with? Something you want to call someone attention to? Special, I don't know, a special feature of the group you want to highlight?
I maybe just wanted to highlight the fact that Alexandra Zaremba, and Lidong are also members of our group, and unfortunately they couldn't be here today with us, but they are doing an amazing job as well. And we are looking forward to maybe hearing from other people who would like to join us and help us in coordinating. So thank you, Jimena, for hosting us. It was
my
wonderful.
pleasure. So in Luxembourg, you're going to be on site and online. It's both. It's a hybrid working group. Who is going to
Yes.
be there in person? Grace. And Shuyang, you're going to be online.
I'll be online. Alex is also online.
Oh, okay. Where is Alex right now?
Serbia.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to be online too. Unfortunately, I won't be able to go this year to Luxembourg, but I'm going to be online too. Is there anything else you want to highlight, Shuyang, Grace, or Maggie?
Come see us if you're at the conference, come join our session. We'd love to chat with you.
Yeah, and please get in touch by email if you have any questions, further questions, or you just immediately want to be on the mailing list. Or yeah, our social media is findable.
Can you put up the slide with your information again so it will get in the recording and everybody can see
Yes,
it,
of
like
course.
at the end if they want to send you an
Oh.
email or what? And can you put my email down for the mailing list?
Yes,
Thank
of
you.
course. But let me just pull up the. Oh no, maybe 'cause I think I already posted, unfortunately. So
If you have it on hand, it's just for the closing, so people, it's the last thing they see when they see the video.
so I don't think that will be possible in like a timely manner. So maybe
Okay.
I can give you
You
like
can
a
send it to me. You can
screenshot
send it
and then
to,
you will edit it in.
yes,
Let's imagine it's
yes.
there now.
I can do that. I can edit it in at the end and that's it. So I appreciate very much you accepting this invitation. Thank you. It was great. Please keep doing it. Don't feel discouraged by lack of attendance. Don't just keep doing it. And thank you very much. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you so
time
much
and
for
Thank
organizing.
hosting. Thank
you.
you.